Hello, hello, welcome back. It was a tiny bit of a break for you. I'm welcoming here Ben Chamberlain, who is the Chief Product Officer from UMT360, which is one of our sponsors. So shout out to UM360. Thank you so much for being part of this wonderful event and for making it happen as well. I've got Ben Chamberlain here, as I said, and he's going to give us a presentation on what if you had a secret weapon to manage disruption. I cannot wait, so I'm going to give Ben my word, and I'm welcoming you all for another presentation of this event. Thank you so much. Hello, Ben, welcome.
Thank you, Katie. Hello, everyone. Let me just share my screen.
Of course, thank you so much. Hoping everyone is excited throughout those, hearing your clicks. You're making us all nervous and excited. Is this your intention?
Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we can. It's perfect. I'm going to give you a word and enjoy the space. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Katie. Hi, everyone. So welcome, everyone, to the next session of What If You Had a Secret Weapon to Manage Disruption. Today, we're going to look at why Gartner is saying that strategic portfolio management is one of the keys, and a subset of that, what if analysis and scenario analysis, is one of the keys to driving business agility, a term that I know is overused, but we'll touch on that. Right, in life, in business, and certainly in PPM, you always need a plan B. Here are some of my sort of favorite statements here. I won't go through them all, but maybe most of my favorites are Yogi Berra in terms of make a game plan and stick to it unless it's not working. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth by Mike Tyson. The reality is that we always have to react to variables as they change in everything that we do. Now, disruption comes in many forms, and how well is your business organized today to survive the next disruption? Hopefully we're close to seeing the back of the global pandemic, which maybe disrupted everyone equally. There's many disruptions that can come day to day, month to month, year to year for organizations. So whether it's a pandemic, whether it's social political unrest, whether it's an economic downturn, whether it is as basic as a new competitor or a minor variable change in the marketplace, right? How well is your organization set up to be able to quickly react to this change? Are you going to be more of the proverbial oil tanker versus a jet ski in terms of your ability to maneuver when disruption hits? Now, what is key here is Gartner has actually put a stake in the sand. Gartner is one of the kind of key analyst firms, obviously, the reports on project and portfolio management, and they've been reporting on traditional PPM since 2003, 2004. About 18 months ago, they drew a line in the sand and said, look, things aren't working anymore, right? Look, what they're encouraging organizations to do is to drive business transformation, which is really around becoming more of an agile business to drive performance. When we talk about business agility, we're not talking about the small a. We're not talking about just changing our execution or our project management techniques to agile. We're talking about building an agile business, a business that can react to change at any time to drive business performance. So that's what I mean by business agility. And what they're saying is that, look, to do that, we need to invest in a whole new category called strategic portfolio management. So what they said about 18 months ago is we're going to actually break up PPM and separate it into two distinct disciplines: strategic portfolio management, which is key for organizations to invest in, which needs to be separate but integrated with how you do project execution. And they're calling that world now adaptive project management reporting. And that may include any form of project execution technique, agile, waterfall, work management, and any combination in the same organization. So what they're saying is that organizations to date have badly underinvested in strategic portfolio management, and strategic portfolio management is actually one of the key things that is going to help create a framework and supporting tool sets for driving business agility. Now, obviously today is a short presentation, and strategic portfolio management is a big discipline. So I'm not going to go into all the parts of strategic portfolio management. You see many on the screen now, like financial visibility, the ability to do a better job of strategic alignment, move from annual planning to continuous planning, the ability to optimize and maximize resource utilizations, the ability to manage strategic roadmaps. We're going to focus in on one of the more tactical but important pieces, which is, do you have the right tools to run what-if portfolio analysis? So do we have the information at our fingertips and tool sets that help us model change? Now, when you think about things you need to consider when looking at portfolio analytical tools and techniques. The first three are kind of important. The fourth one is very important and probably the biggest of them all. First one, recognize your data is held hostage. One of the biggest challenges in modeling any scenario is getting access to latest and greatest data. So if the data is held in different systems, ERP, different execution systems, it's very difficult, therefore, to bring it together to analyze it. And often we end up, staying late, buying pizza, crunching things in Excel just to answer simple questions. The next one is understand this is a multifaceted problem. We may come in looking to assess resource capacity planning or resource utilization or cost forecasting or whatever it may be, right? But there's a domino effect. If I'm delaying an investment to better utilize resources, I'm impacting my cost forecast. I'm delaying my benefits realization timeline. I'm doing many things. So understand there's a cause and effect. So you need a tool set and framework capable of bringing things together so you can understand that domino effect as you start to make decisions. Next, there are many tools out there, and the tools are not the silver bullet in any shape or form that provide portfolio analysis capabilities. So pick the right ones. There's some that focus just on resource capacity planning. There's some like ours that will focus on many things: capacity planning, cost optimization, roadmap analysis. There's some that are very boutique to focus on specific scenarios. So make sure you have the right tools for the right job. Last but by no means least, establish the right investment approach to derive execution from strategy. But we're a tool company or a software company. We also have a strong consulting discipline. When it comes to strategic portfolio management, it's the framework first. So how do you systematically establish the right governance processes and framework to derive execution directly from the strategy, and then have the right information at your fingertips to be able to make changes at any given time? Again, there's at least an hour session. We can dive deep into those frameworks, but we're not going to have time to do it today. So I'm going to jump into a live demonstration to show you an example of strategic portfolio management and analysis capabilities. We're going to look specifically at the UMT360 Strategic Portfolio Manager. I'm going to look at some of the scenarios that I've highlighted in the bullets here. So let me jump to the software. So here we're looking at the UMT360 Strategic Portfolio Manager. Now, when you think about analytical tools like this, there's two ways they could be utilized. They could be utilized to ingest information from other systems of record and just be used for analysis purposes, or they can actually be used to set up that right framework where you actually capture the information and maintain the information in this system too. Today we're going to focus more on the analysis, but having the data at your fingertips, whether it's maintained in this system or easily ingested in from other systems, execution systems, ERP systems, HR systems, whatever it may be, is fundamentally important. So when you have a tool like this, the ability to be able to establish key portfolios you want to manage, so I'm going to just drill down into an initiative portfolio here, and maintain the information that you want to analyze, right? So I have my initiative portfolio here. If I drive down into one of my particular initiatives, I just see this global innovation initiative and I see the inventory with information that we're capturing. Now, I'm not going to spend much time here, but I want to get the point across. When we look at analyzing, we want to analyze like value, cost, resource impact, timeline, dependencies, metrics, and benefits, right? So you need that information in the system. So whether it's as basic as descriptive information such as this, whether it's moving into scoring assessments or macro resource information, whether we're integrating financial data sets, budget actuals, forecasts, metrics in terms of outcomes, financial and non-financial, key events, milestones, dependencies, whatever it may be, whether you're ingesting this information from other systems or whether it's being maintained in a structured way and integrated with the other systems, such as I'm showing you here, having the data in the system is one of the key hurdles to overcome. Right. So I'm just showing you this for an example of the types of data that can be captured. Now, let's jump into the analysis itself. So I'm moving to the portfolio analysis module. One of the key challenges is, once you have your data in a system like this, your production data, you want to be able to run what if analysis. You don't want to be able to impact your production data set. You want to be able to create scenarios and model the impact or of change without affecting your underlying production data set. So you have the ability here to create plans, which are basically offline analyses. And I can set up my plan based on any portfolios or entities that are captured and the types of data I want to analyze. It's predicated on road mapping and optimization. So how do I want the roadmap to look? And what data do I want to bring in? Resource, cost, benefit, all of the above. And more importantly, is this analysis private to me, or who do I want to collaborate on with during this analysis? Now, what I'm going to do just to save time is I'm going to load a saved analysis. So I'm bringing up a saved plan, which happens to be a 3-year plan of our overall portfolio. So it's loading the production data set. This is why it's taking a little bit of time, because it's bringing the production data set into a sandbox so we can analyze change. The first thing to note is you get a splash page here, which shows you my baseline metrics for this analysis. I've got 47 projects and epics in this example that I brought in here. I can see budget utilization, my payback period. I can see my overall portfolio value score. I can look at resource utilization. These are baseline metrics because as I affect change, we will see the impact. If I add entities, remove entities, we'll see the delta in this view. So this is the baseline. I can share, I can save and share scenarios as I step through, as I will show you. Now, there's 2 ways of analyzing the portfolio that can be used in Harmony. The first is more of a what we call a sensitivity analysis prioritization view, which we'll look at in a second, which is a great way of saying, do I have the right mix of work in my portfolio? And the next gets us more into a time-phased view, where I look at a strategic roadmap and I can make decisions in context to resource, cost, and benefit information. They can be used individually or collectively as you look to solve the problem. So if we look at this optimization view here, I've got my projects ranked, so I have them prioritized, a very flexible prioritization engine. Here we have this value score, and this value score is being derived off these 5 measures. Now I could have 1 measure, I can have up to 5 measures, and I can create a weighted average. But this is currently how this is being prioritized. I have my in-flight portfolio here in my analysis, but I also have a backlog of investments that are waiting in the wings here. So I can use this in a variety of ways. I can say, look, do I have the right mix of projects? Is my in-flight portfolio here, or should I look to optimize and bring in stuff from my backlog? If I recalculate this scenario, there's a linear optimization algorithm that's going to reprioritize the portfolio and select the investments with the optimal value for the upcoming period. Should do in a second. It's my internet's behaving. Have I got an issue with internet or not? Okay, so it's kind of optimized here. So you can see the top value here, and you can see what's included, what's may be included based on this constraint tolerance, and what's may be excluded. And what's interesting here is that my #1 investment here has been brought in from my backlog. So we started to optimize the portfolio in a variety of ways. And if I come back to my metrics here now, we've actually moved 6 entities out of the portfolio. We can see which improved our portfolio value score by about 10%, 3 points in this case, which had a negative impact on our resource utilization. So you get my point, right? I can come in here, I can run multiple scenarios here. I can adjust my constraint tolerance. I can change my budget. I can rerun. I can actually adjust dynamically my value criteria and optimize the portfolio. So everything here is at your fingertips to be able to run a structured prioritization and optimization analysis. Next, we can move to this view where we can start to affect change from a time perspective. Now, I'm actually going to back up here because I'm going to return to the baseline scenario just so I can run the analysis I want. So just reload the scenarios here. So taking a step back, so we have that optimization view here, and now I can further refine things through this time phase view, right? So road mapping is absolutely key, right? Provides that kind of way of macro view and orchestration across all investments. So we have our roadmap set up here. and I can see I've got, what have we got here? Projects and epics rolled up by strategy. So you can slice and dice however you want. But more importantly, we want to bring together key events and milestones and interdependencies. I'm going to prioritize based on yield here. So I can very quickly build the roadmap the way I want it. Now, this roadmap is dynamic in the fact that I can mine interdependencies. I can see that this milestone here from this investment relies on this, but I can take action. And as I move things around in the roadmap, we're seeing that that milestone is being updated, or the second project is being moved based on that shift because I've enforced the constraints. So now you get the ability to do things like that. Now let me just adjust the time frame. Let's drill down to a monthly time frame and simplify the roadmap a little bit. Okay, so I have my roadmap set up, but now I may want to come in and say, look, I may want to look at resource capacity planning, right? I've got my metadata, so I have my information at my fingertips down here. So I'm bringing through my resources here. I have my resources rolled up by role here. It could be by whatever we wanted. I could look at plan data. I could look at things differently above the line, below the line. Could drill down from the role or team to the actual individuals as well. I prefer this view. But now we can start to look at running a primary scenario of resource capacity planning. So what is the impact on my resource availability if we delay this investment? What is the impact on my resource availability if we accelerate this investment? Two very common actions. What happens if we want to get out of this, right? I could drop it outright. I could exclude it and see which resources I get back down here. I could then decide to drop. I could bring back. As before, we can actively manage a backlog. So what's the impact of bringing in new, in this case, projects or epics into my portfolio? And specifically, what is the impact on my overall resource availability, right? So I'm taking very common actions and able to do things very quickly to get a result, right? Now, I've been doing everything at the portfolio level, but what if I wanted to learn more about any particular project? So through contextual filtering, we can now pinpoint things. Who's working on this particular project in this instance? So I can look at the plan data set and see I've got accountants and I've got SMEs, or whoever are on this, right? The point is, very quickly, in almost one click, I went from the portfolio level to the project level. So anywhere I click, I can see contextual information. What's impacting this, or which investments are impacting this time frame? Or if I look here, my project managers seem to be over allocated, right? So if I drill down, I can see this guy Peter who was over allocated all the way till August earlier in the year, right? So if I click on that one time frame for that one resource, these two investments were causing that over allocation. So I can find things out pretty quickly, and I can then affect change to fix that problem if I choose to. But in one click, I'm going from the portfolio level right down to the named resource level, back to the portfolio level as well. So obviously I'm going through this quickly, and maybe resource capacity planning is a primary scenario for you. But going back to what I said earlier, understanding the cause and effect, right? Even though we're optimizing this for resource capacity planning, any change I'm making is impacting me through the other data sets as well, right? So if I look here and go back to that same project, as I was moving that project around, it's impacting my cost forecast at whatever level of detail you're managing costs. So we can see there's an OPEX impact, right, as I move things around, right? It's also impacting my benefit realization timeline. So if I look here and switch the view to look at a kind of payback period, as I move things around again, right, we're seeing the impact from a cost and benefit point of view, or a benefits realization payback point of view, right? So that domino effect is key to understand. Now, again, I may be a different persona. Maybe I'm coming from enterprise finance or equivalent that wants to look at multi-year fiscal planning, right? So maybe that is my primary scenario. So to do that, I'm actually going to change the view. I'm going to say, look, I want to look at things by year, and I want to set, let's go back here. I want to set multi-year budget. So I'm going to set a $20 million budget and actually drop it, or actually increase it for the next year, whatever I want to do. So I'm setting a top-down budget. I want to look at a cumulative spend pattern. We're looking at calendar years here, but fiscal years supported. It only makes sense when we get back to a lower granularity. So now I'm looking at my cumulative spend within each fiscal year, and I can see where my budget's been set. And I'm actually breaking my budget around July of last year, right? So now I can dive down through contextual filtering and understand what's the impact, and as I move things around, can I affect change to the cost, right? So you can see things as I push things out, it having net impact on my overall portfolio, right? So so I can look at things from a resource capacity planning point of view or a cost point of view, toggle in between, and I can understand the impact across multiple variables at the same time, which is one of the key challenges in overall continuous planning. Same, as I said already, can be held true for benefit target analysis, right? As I come in here, I could look at payback, or I could even establish targets for key benefits and be able to assess the sufficiency of my portfolio in reaching that. So I can do benefit optimization alongside resource capacity planning. So it's fundamentally important. The other important part here, having looked at the kind of portfolio analysis, is coming back to this view, right, where I can now see the net delta from my baseline, added 4 projects, improved resource utilization by 4 points, actually had a positive impact on our overall payback in terms of reducing time, and almost a 20% impact on my overall portfolio value. So now I have the ability to save scenarios and share scenarios with folks that I'm collaborating with. So key things there, right? I know I went through that very, very quickly, is once you have the data in place, whether that's ingesting in from other systems or whether that's setting up a structured inventory the way I showed earlier, then you need tools that give you the ability to run that dynamic portfolio analysis in a kind of sandbox environment without impacting your production data set, and then the ability to communicate that change out to people before committing that change. Fundamentally important. So that's enough from a demo point of view. Let's jump back to the slides and we'll kind of wrap this up. So, we didn't sort of introduce ourselves. We are proud to be sponsoring this year event. So UMT360 is seen by Gartner and other analyst firms as one of the leading thinkers in strategic portfolio management. So 3 kind of important parts to our business. First and foremost, we are positioned as one of the leaders in strategic portfolio management software. So we took a brief glimpse at one aspect of the UMT360 strategic portfolio management solution in terms of portfolio analysis, but it's the solution that provides that top-down investment hub for helping organizations support decision-making to drive obvious business agility or business transformation. Second, we have a strong consulting side to our organization that leverages a proprietary framework, something that Gartner actually holds us in high regard as our software, that we use to systematically mature an organization's project, program, and broader portfolio management practices. It's called the VIC framework, and really it is targeted at different personas, different functions in the organization to help them establish the right framework to quickly integrate strategic portfolio management into their organization. So whether it's a portfolio management office, enterprise finance, business architects, enterprise architects, or just project managers with different forms of project execution, the VIC framework covers it all. And as Gartner says, it actually brings together best of breed strategic portfolio management framework and processes with underpinning that with the right adaptive project management capabilities. So whether you're using Jira, Microsoft Azure Boards, or Microsoft Project, or other scheduling tools, you're going to stay using those tools, but brings together both worlds of project execution and strategic portfolio management. Last but by no means least, we are actually also have a consulting side organization that focuses on the Microsoft platform. So if you're utilizing any parts of the Microsoft work management toolset, Project for the web, Project Online, Planner, Azure Boards, whatever it may be, and Microsoft is a classic example of an adaptive project management platform. Different tools to empower different teams to execute work in different ways. And it heightens the importance, therefore, for a strategic portfolio management system that can then allow you to bring that together so you can see the woods for the trees. So if you're using Microsoft Azure Boards for Agile, Jira for Agile, a combination, right, it doesn't matter, right? You can elevate the information so the stakeholders can see the wood for the trees and optimize decision making relative to the strategy of the organization. We'll wrap this up. I know that we're going to have 5 minutes for Q&A. Thank you for joining me today. potential next steps, we are a sponsor of this event, so connect with us at this event. We have team members virtually attending this event. If you want to learn more about our software, we can look at the overall strategic portfolio management solution or key accelerators in the areas of outcome management, resource capacity planning, and a whole variety of other accelerators. Reach out, and I'm happy to show you more on the tool set, as well as our framework. And to me, the framework almost comes before the tools, the consulting side of the organization, relative to the software we build in automation of these best practice processes. And of course, you can go to our website, UMT360.com, to learn a lot more about strategic portfolio management, even download a free ebook that talks about 12 key things you may want to overcome as you introduce strategic portfolio management capabilities. So that concludes the presentation. Happy to field any Q&A, Katie, if there is.
Yes. Thank you, Ben, so much. This was very, very informative, and you've gone through it greatly, covering everything. There is one question actually from Camilla Evans. She's one of our speakers. Thank you so much, Cami. What is the customizability of this tool? While a large company may have all data points, small mid-sized portfolio may not. So what can you suggest?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And so I mean, we don't actually use the word customization because one of the things about strategic portfolio management, well, actually one of the first things Gartner says about it is you need to be able to build element neutral portfolios. So in essence, you need to be able to model any environment, so I could have an initiative, epic, a program project, I could have a product, I can have it doesn't matter. I can create any entities, and that's all done through the configuration. So customization is a bad word for us. Configuration is it means, as a power user, you can build an entity model of your choosing. So that could be on the complicated scale, like I'm sure you saw when I brought up that one investment initiative. But by the same self token, you can start simple and then evolve your model, all through configuration, no customization. In fact, our accelerators are a good example of that, where we can actually give you a environment to do resource capacity planning, which you can then build on, but it works day one in a packaged way. Obviously, complexities get introduced when you introduce governance processes and various things. So this scales to the most complex thing you could imagine, but it can also be deployed in a very simple manner based on an organization's maturity. And that's where our VIC model comes in. We understand where you are today, but more importantly, we understand strategic portfolio management as a journey. So how do we set course in the right direction?
Perfect. I think you've kind of covered it. Cami, hopefully it's going to be satisfactory enough. If not, feel free to connect to Ben or to UMT360 team. And I would also like to thank you, Ben, for coming on here, hopping on. I would like to thank you for UM360 for sponsoring this event, for making it happen. And Cami says thank you. So hopefully they kind of gave her the best answer that you could have given her. So thank you so much, Ben, again. And we're going to continue with the first panel discussion of this conference. I'm so very excited.